My name is Woody Landeros.
And I'm Joseph Landeros.
You're listening to the Landeros Brothers, where we talk about...
Communication through art.
I like how it sounds all structured.
Yeah. Roll to the
Well,
intro?
you're supposed to say, just roll the intro.
All right.
Okay, let's do it. Today's topic is the Van Gogh selfie. Or I'm not sure if it's Van Gogh or Van Gogh, because I was searching around on the internet and some people say Van Gogh, Van Gogh. I don't know. I'm going to say Vincent Van Gogh today. Vincent Van Gogh, according to Wikipedia, is a Dutch post-impressionist painter who is among the most famous and influential figures in the history of Western art. Why are we talking about him? It is because the selfie has become extremely popular in today's time, and a lot of people on the internet are also saying that Van Gogh is the original selfie king, OG selfie king. Alux said that. So, Joe, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, well, I think there's just been this resurgence of this man's name because now you can actually go on Amazon and thanks to Poster Revolution, you can purchase a 13-inch by 19-inch photo of Van Gogh holding an iPhone, taking a selfie for only $10.
No way.
Yeah, you can actually buy that. And being close to the Amazon warehouse, at least from our location right now, I'm kind of thinking about maybe, picking that up for Christmas.
Amazon has to be another topic on this because they're 2 blocks down and they own it feels like a city. It's 10 blocks.
Seriously. I mean, with how much production they've done as far as building and manufacturing, I don't really understand how it worked. They're able to take over
I think it's just the amount of things that they could release at a certain time. It's just overpopulating everything. Also, which I can compare it to, we'll just bring it back to Van Gogh. So Van Gogh created about or a little over 2,100 artworks, 860 of which were oil paintings. So he created a large amount of paintings, which I find very interesting that he only sold one of those paintings in his entire lifetime, which it's crazy. And right now, 4 out of 30 of the top most expensive paintings in history are by Van Gogh. So yeah, and that one art piece, it actually sold for 400 francs, which is roughly $1,000 US dollars. So it's just in his time, he was what I call in my Shut Up and Fail podcast a failure.
Right.
Yeah,
talk about as we
crazy.
were talking about before, the great unappreciated artist.
Yep.
If you guys want to check that podcast out,
it should have been all him. It should have been all him.
Yeah, but now we have the opportunity to to go in a little bit into his story. One of the quotes that I pulled from, I believe, his website online or a website talking about him was that I've put my heart and my soul into my work, and I have lost my mind in the process. And with that being said, we also learn as researching more into him that there was many mental illnesses, including bipolar disorder, as assumed by modern psychologists that he could have been facing in his lifetime.
Yeah, a lot of psychologists had reviewed pretty much his portfolio, and then also because he not only had a portfolio of art, but he also had a medical portfolio with the psychiatric hospital. Because first in December 1888, Van Gogh suffered his first mental breakdown. And only a year after that, he actually voluntarily admitted himself to the St. Paul de Mézières, I believe, psychiatric hospital. And and in that same hospital, he continued to paint. And then only a year after that, Vincent Van Gogh was shot in the abdomen. Most believe that he shot himself, and I think that's what it's declared online. Some people have some theories and whatnot, but yeah, he took his life at the age of 37.
Wow, that's pretty young.
At the age of 37, and he only started painting when he was 27, so he had 10 years of expressing himself, of communicating through art and all
Wow.
the different forms of medium, and I would even say just visual appreciation of art.
I think we've gotten, and it's kind of off subject, but I mean, or off topic for a little bit, but I think we came so far in the world of mental health, and I think we still have to continue on to strive for those different mental institutions, or trying to improve the well-being of these individuals. I mean, to think that, as you said, only having 10 years in the work field of art and having only sold one of his paintings, it's pretty sad to say the least. And I think that, say in a situation like that, where in that time frame you could have died from, say, having a cold, or say having the measles, or having tuberculosis, for him to have taken his own life, if he did, as declared online, I think that's pretty sad.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that I'm gonna go back because that was kind of insensitive of me. I feel like if you do have even any thoughts in your head, or you feel that something's wrong, or other people are telling you, it's always good to just double check and find some help. There's so many call hotlines, or so many different things that you can go for, and that you can get treatment and get proper treatment.
Right.
Don't get treatment from your BFF.
Yeah, actually, I was just
don't self-prescribe yourself.
Yeah, I was just watching a video, and actually one of the sponsors of the video, I forgot what it was. It was talking about a political debate. But anyways, it was just talking about how there's actually these services online now where you can message a PhD psychologist to talk over your problems. Say if it's the hard thing to do because socially you don't want to come across as being weak, or a lot of people can be influenced by different things just because of what we could put onto people. This whole negative stereotype with getting mental treatment, but in this case now you can go online and talk to someone who's educated and can help you out.
Yeah, I mean, I think his friends or the people that were around him probably could have gotten a hint after he cut his ear off.
Yeah, well, I actually want to talk about that. So you said in 1888 he went to the institution, correct?
1888 he suffered his first mental breakdown, and then 1889 he voluntarily admitted himself. And
all right. Yeah.
You go for it.
So in 1889 he actually produced one of his most famous works, which showcases a self-portrait of himself with his bandaged ear. Now, we know that he eventually lost one of his ears, that's a fact. But what is unknown is actually how he lost it, which is interesting. So one of the theories, or the theories that include...
it's still a mystery?
Yeah, it's still a mystery, according to Ripley's BelieveItOrNot.com. So the theories include, 1, he cut it off himself after his brother announced his engagement to him. That might happen to me. No, I'm joking. No. It's a lot to take in, I don't really know what's going on in his life.
Silent jab. Okay. That wasn't even silent. That was straightforward, man. Not cool.
Number 2.
All right. I see you.
I mean, if I
think we're going to have to get in the ring now.
If I announce my engagement to you right now, how would you feel?
I would be very happy for you.
All right, number 2.
I would wish you a long life of happiness.
Cut
your ear off, man. I'm going to cut this podcast, man. This is... Okay.
Number 2.
Get on with your dance off.
His friend, that was a fencer, fencing with a sword, cut it off in an attempt to actually defend himself.
I can't believe you, man. I'm giving him the face right now. I can't believe it.
He's still stuck on it. All right, let me collect myself. Let's get over that.
Okay.
It's just a joke. Just a joke. But so his friend...
just a joke.
His friend would have sliced it off, actually, because he said something about the fact that he was going to Paris, and Van Gogh didn't really like that because he was not controlling, but pretty vulnerable at that time and needed someone to talk to. So therefore, in an attempt of just rage, went for him, and the fencer just sliced it off. And the last one would be that he gave it to a prostitute in hopes of healing her. So she was bitten by a dog who had rabies, and he knew of this, and she spoke of it, and she was sick at the time. And in his own delusion, he would have given her his ear to sort of give her a piece of his life. Now, it makes sense, that last one. It sounds a little weird, but it makes sense because of his odd love interest and his intimate relationships that he had at that time. He was like going the fast route, really known for going to brothels and not really having relationships, but mostly just sleeping with these prostitutes.
Well, he had a very deep relationship with one of them, and I believe it might be him or a different one, but I believe he painted her in a lot of different art pieces, and then he like lived with her and took care of her.
Pretty interesting. But altogether, the fact that we don't really know actually what happened kind of shows you how weak of documentation there actually is, at least for the past like 200 years. I mean, not to say that we don't have the wars documented, that we don't have, certain fatalities, but there's just some things that I wish that we could know about, just the little things about the common man, or maybe about these unappreciated artists. Say even like going back to Edgar Allan Poe, I feel like we should have known something about himself, just even take on further investigations, or not investigation, but more further interest into even mental health. Like, let's create more of a conversation about maybe what happened and why things like that happen.
I'm not sure if they even spent much time on stuff like that. I feel like they might have even just said, oh, he has a screw loose.
Right.
And then just kind of blew it off. Like now it's like, what exactly do you have out of like the billions of different...
Yeah, and whenever you are diagnosed with one disorder, you're automatically given multiple other disorders as far as mental health goes, because it's such a wide variety of things that you could be suffering from. Yeah. Say if you have like bipolar disorder, you can also be facing depression or facing senses of narcissism. There's just so many different things you could diagnose with it.
And the reason why we're talking about this is because I feel that he was able to communicate his hardships and all the different things that he went through in his life through his paintings. And in that same year that he voluntarily admitted himself, he also created the famous Van Gogh self-portrait, oil on canvas. And that was actually one of 40 in a 10-year period. Taking it back to the whole introduction, OG selfie king, let me just give you the definition of the selfie. A selfie is a self-portrait photograph typically taken with a smartphone, hand or selfie stick. Now, obviously, he didn't have he didn't take the photo with his hand or with the selfie stick or anything like that, but he did take self-portraits of himself. And so, it's crazy that now an average millennial is expected to take 25,700 selfies during the course of their lifetime. So approximately one a day, and that's from Fact Tonight. That's where the source is from. So it's just crazy that the amount of selfies that he took was quite odd at the time, because people were not really painting themselves. It was more so what do I see, not what do I feel. So this was a very vulnerable experience for him to be able to paint himself, and I feel like it was again a vulnerable experience for him to see all of those different I guess just emotions that went into the paint strokes and the colors and all of his choices that went into it.
Right. Well, going back to the term selfie, I think it's pretty interesting because I wouldn't say.
Why are we laughing?
What? I don't know. I think we should just have a little smile. All right, so I'm gonna take that back. Actually, it was just a joke, but with his whole brother's engagement, I think it's just funny because I imagine how impactful that might be for some people. Just rage out because your brother's getting engaged.
It's out there.
And I just imagine myself being in those shoes for some reason because you're my brother.
I'm going to play this podcast at my wedding.
Okay. So say the term selfie. I feel like there's not really that usage of the term anymore. And that could be proven against me. I'm sure we can look up the hashtag selfie and people still use it to this day. But I would say that it's it's pretty well known as far as the term that it's almost like
It's really well known.
yeah, but it's not like everyone's just putting as a caption hashtag selfie as maybe they were back in 2014. Because according to Google Trends, from January 1st of 2004 to all the way to 2013, the term selfie wasn't searched at all. But by 2014, the graph that is showed by Google Trends shows just an explosion of searches where it just spikes. And we've seen that terminology or that phrase selfie has actually decreased in its usage over the years. So that's the only thing that's supporting my claim. And also just from my own personal experience, seeing people are using more quotes and different things of that nature to tie into their pictures.
I also want to put it out there that I don't feel that. I just want to state that I don't feel that him making, quote unquote selfies is a bad thing, or that selfies are even a bad thing. I know that even different psychologists had said that selfie addiction is a mental health issue with an extremely high suicide rate, and other things like it could be as easy as 1, 2, 3 say cheese, or as dangerous as falling off a cliff trying to get that perfect snapshot. But there's also, positive things and also different things that you can reflect on when you do see yourself. Another thing that people say is that you can really tell who a person is by taking a selfie, and then you can also tell their growth after taking a certain amount of selfies, because it's a very personal experience. You get to see how you look, you get to see who you are, and also social media is just a direct reflection of who you are. So you're able to kind of review your life and say, is this who I want to be, or is this am I presenting myself well? Job interviews is the first thing they see is your social medias, and so it's I don't want to get in the category of a typical older person where they say social media is bad, selfies are bad, the internet is bad, all this is bad. There are positive aspects to it, and which brings me back to the word failure. It's just looking in the mirror and being able to say this is who I am is something that I feel that Vincent Van Gogh was able to do. Fox said he had a reputation of failure. He was trying multiple things, multiple jobs, all these different things, and then he started painting. He barely put paint or whatever it was to canvas at the age of 27. So he didn't paint or he didn't draw at all. And so I feel like when he started doing these paintings, out of over 2,000 paintings, it was a very self-reflecting experience in being able to communicate his emotions through art of all of the different failures and all of the different difficulties that he's had through, different psychological issues or just emotional issues towards finances or love or all these different things. And being open and vulnerable just got him to, 4 out of 30 of the top most expensive paintings in history are by Vincent Van Gogh. That is something that really needs a constant applause for. It's insane. If you want to know how to make it as an artist, become 100% vulnerable. Share your emotions. However you're creating, find a way to put storytelling and to put that sort of if you're depressed, it's okay, but share it. Find help, but use art as a means of therapy, obviously with an art therapist, because sometimes we might be doing it in a negative way. But what I'm trying to say is just communicate, your emotions through your art and be open with that. It's not a bad thing.
I think it's really inspiring, even as you said, with the whole vulnerability aspect of it, but also just the originality aspect of it as well. Not to say that portraits weren't being showcased as forms of art, but as far as his story goes and all, and his usage of painting himself, it is pretty original, at least for that time. And what we know is that, as his sister could recall, and it is documented, as a child he actually suffered from solitude and was a pretty quiet individual and was often neglected by his parents. And I think that's pretty relatable in my generation and perhaps even your generation with a lot of parents having to work all the time, or perhaps it's just a different type of relationship with their children. And maybe social media or maybe having a group of people to speak to is the best bet. Like you said, there are gonna be those group of people that are gonna say that social media is really bad for you, bad, as you said before. But I think that sense of belonging really matters in any field of life, whether it be work or school or just even being on a playground. Not to relate that back to social media, but there's that sense of fitting in that matters.
Yeah, it's the group. It's being in a group and feeling. And well, actually, I feel like social media has opened up the door. Well, I know social media has opened up the doors for the entire world to be exposed. And so, different people from different countries that we don't necessarily even know like their story. Now they have a platform, like they're sharing on YouTube how hard it is, how their government is, and like how just everything, like they're pretty much opening the blinds to something that was like covered.
Right.
It's like top secret is now exposed. And then that just turns into like, first is just admitting like who you are, and then it's like analyzing that and being able to grow from there. So, we have a bunch of different policy changes. We have a bunch of different people changing their thoughts about things that were really cruel and that were acceptable back then, but now it's like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that correctly, but yeah.
Like different norms, you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, say, I don't want to get too political, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
So, as far as with his works go, let's just talk about it. Now that we've ran down the facts, let's just talk about it in an open sense. Do you think that he created with an intention to, say, become well-known, or do you think that he just created out of his own frustration? Because I think what we've gotten to as artists or in this generation is, and I say that a lot in this generation, but is being able to create, but also, at least with myself, having the idea of, okay, how is this going to get distributed? Am I going to post this on Instagram? There's all of these different things. To think of a more simpler time, such as the 1800s, do you think that he planned to maybe become well-known as an artist?
Well, it was known that he chose this, he picked up the pen and pencil and chose actually like the title, an artist. So like that was his career choice. Mm-hmm. And so that for me, it seemed like maybe it was like, okay, so I can do this because I see other people doing it, or I'm gonna choose this as a as a career. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that he expected to unravel all of the stuff that he went through. I think that he might have even had some sort of obsessive compulsive, because of the amount of paintings that he did, the amount of repetition that he had. That takes a lot of hard work, and that takes a lot of dedication, or that takes somebody that has, like they really, really, really just are like a machine.
Right.
Because for me, like if I make an art piece, like it takes me a while to make the next one because I'm just looking and reflecting on the first one. Maybe that's, I feel like I could learn a lot from Vincent Van Gogh. I mean, to be able to say that I made over 2,000 artworks in my lifetime would be an accomplishment. Right. I think I don't even know.
Well, I know you've written on a lot of restaurant napkins, so I'm pretty sure
it's probably like at 1,000.
Yeah, so you're starting to hit those numbers, man. Just got to keep working at it. So, with minimalism, cubism, all these different forms of expression being present over the years, what we do know is that at least for the standards of his time, he wasn't actually as how do you phrase it? As gifted as many individuals would presume. It's actually quite the opposite. They were saying that over time, with his progression of his art, you could see how he was becoming more skilled as he was, paying more attention into his craft. So I think that's also a pretty inspiring story to say, someone even like myself, about to get into the world of design, not really having an understanding, only just inspiration and passion, purely into styling or different things like that. So
And also just his confidence. I feel like his confidence just boosted up in the last few years. Well, because like I would imagine that in a psychiatric hospital, they would be encouraging for you to open up with your emotions or whatever you love to do. Like if you love to paint and that's the option that they give you, they're probably like paint more, so that they can study his artworks or study like what he does. And so I mean, like a lot of the stuff that he created was in the last 2 years of his life.
Right.
And to have like the portfolio of The Starry Night, Iris's Wheat Field with Crows, and just so many other pieces of art it's great. You have to have, I feel like you have to have a level of confidence or a level of just carelessness.
Which kind of go hand in hand, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
As someone like Gary Vaynerchuk would say, we always go back to him, or I always try and reference him every now and then. Documenting, not creating, is what really matters in some situations, or in all situations. You could argue for both of them. Because, of course, we have, the appropriate times to maybe take a picture, and sometimes there are those times that we should not be on our phones, or, we should just rather just be in the moment.
Do you think taking a selfie, are you creating a piece of art?
Now, that's a pretty open conversation to get into, because it sort of questions, well...
like is Kim Kardashian
Yeah, I was just
the
about to reference her.
master, like...
I was just about to talk about her, because what if, say, someone like Marilyn Monroe just took like millions of selfies, and then we had this big vault of her selfies of that time, and then you have people like Andy Warhol and all these other people being able to replicate it. What's going to happen with all this data?
I think like Kim Kardashian is a master, or she has masterminds behind her of like marketing and advertising, which lies in a whole nother category, because like two hand in hand in competition can go two hand in hand. If two individuals went in competition, one had the greatest product and one had the greatest marketing and advertising, it'd be an actual competition, even if somebody had a really crappy product.
Yeah, we can even go back, or not go back, but we can bring up, say, Android versus iPhones. It's the constant battle that everyone's talking about, saying how, well, Samsung or whoever it may be provides this. They have the greatest quality photos. They have all these different features, but there's just something simplistic and something relatable about iPhone products. Although they are innovative in their own right, there's always going to be that conversation.
Yeah, well, everybody wants to say the best blank in blank. The best pizza in New York, the best cupcakes in New Jersey, whatever it is, like the best this, the best in the world. And yeah, I think, yeah, it's all like the best.
And also we can talk about, as you're asking, can a selfie be considered art? You also have to go into the means of what is being advertised at that time. You have different documentation of photographs from, say, the Great Depression that were just simple photographs, not intended to mean anything, but later on, reflecting back, we can see that was a pretty hard time for our nation and for the status of our economy. So say something like with the selfie nowadays, someone could be in struggle and simply catering to the social norm at that time, or not catering, but just adapting to the norm and be wearing something that represents something symbolically, but it will take years from now, maybe even 100 years, for us to look back and say, wow, that meant something.
Yeah, because different things that like pop up in the market most of the times are not accepted. Just like hip hop was not accepted by different radio stations. They didn't even consider it like a genre until way later. And it's just a very challenging thing whenever like something new comes in. And for the older individuals, or for the more like classical minded individuals, they usually just shut things down, and they say that's not this, or they fear it, like it's not, like it's almost like you don't belong here. But I feel like one day we'll have museums of selfies.
Wow. Do you think that one day, or how far do you think it will come before mainstream media, say like on television and stuff, is through selfie format? Say like commercials. Say it's like, hey, we want to advertise Cheez-Its. So Cheez-Its goes on there. They have a selfie video of the main man talking about it and having the interactive experience. You think?
Well,
Because I've seen that on
doing
YouTube.
that. They're already doing that with influencer marketing.
I've seen that on YouTube
know,
a
like-
lot, but not on regular television. Like going to the gym this morning, 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock. You see the television and you kind of think to yourself, do I look at this little television which is my phone, or do I look at the flat screen TV that they provide for you?
Well, I feel like we've also been trained, and I think we all kind of know because we have so much information online. So we're constantly like analyzing different pieces of video. So when it comes down to what are they going to feed me at 9 a.m., it's like we can really call BS quickly based upon the stuff that we've consumed. So like with influencer marketing, you're able to see like a person that you trust say, buy this because I trust it. So now you automatically trust it, as opposed to a company saying, I'm so awesome, trust me. And then you're like, well, why should I trust you? So yeah, and it's kind of already happening. Now, whether I agree with it or not, on the selfie museum and, whether selfies or not, I feel like I don't know. I think it's kind of up in the air right now because I can see, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can completely appreciate a selfie, but I feel like maybe that's how they felt back then when people were doing self-portraits. They were like, why are you painting yourself? But that's painting, so it takes like a lot of different... It's hard because like, I don't know.
And all this controversy is because of a man named Vincent Van Gogh.
Is that how we're going to end it?
I would like to end it like that. We're already hitting the mark, man.
Okay.
We got to go.
All right, let's get out of here.